Hi, everyone. I am so excited and delighted to welcome Hope Fitzgerald back. You may remember that I interviewed Hope, had a conversation, wonderful, rich conversation with her a few months ago about the infinity wave. And Hope had downloaded, I believe, the infinity wave in a series of 3 visions. I have to say, from that conversation, Hope, I have been using the infinity wave almost on a daily basis. And it's like magic. It's like a miracle to kind of unblock cues, stuck situations, difficult dynamics, and how fast it works, sort of within seconds. It's phenomenal. So I'm truly grateful to you, and I know that many other people are as well. It's like just a magic trick in your toolbox. So thank you so much for that. So I'll put the link to that video, that conversation that Hope and I had beneath this one. And just to, for those of you who didn't see that, Hope is a spiritual teacher of many years, intuitive dowser, coach, author, healer, end-of-life midwife, and certified neurofeedback practitioner. So she does beautiful spiritual work all over the world. So I'm so excited to talk about this very different subject, Hope. So welcome, joy to be with you.
Thank you so much, Pam. I am so happy to be back with you and your beautiful, cozy couch there. Someday I hope to be sitting right next to you.
Will.
So yeah, I'm thrilled because this journey of directed information came to me through various places and various beings on the other side. But I want to upfront acknowledge you and your supportive astrology really did underlie everything we were doing. And you know, when you feel connected to the larger forces like that, it really helps. It really strengthens oneself. And there's plenty of room for doubt with all of this stuff, but I aim to cut right through that. That's my goal. And if the astrology is aligned with what I've been told to do, then so much the better. I love it.
Because this is about your trip to Mount Shasta at Lionsgate. Yes?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic. So you received some guidance, I think, to take you there.
Yeah, so a year ago, my husband and I finally went to Mount Shasta. I had been wanting to go for so very long. And as soon as we got there, I felt so amazing. I loved it. We went up the mountain. We did all the things you're supposed to do. I didn't have a big, woo-woo experience, so to speak. But I loved the feeling that I had even in the town. It was just beautiful. And I knew that it was something I wanted to return to. And we were standing out in the backyard of this lovely little inn. And basically it came right there. You have to come back next year is an 888 year, and you need to come to Lionsgate. And I was like, oh gosh, that's a lot. Okay, let's see how that goes. So that would be my trip for this year. I do a trip every year somewhere, wherever I am told to go. I dowse for when and where I go. So somewhere in the winter, I said, well, okay, we're supposed to go. Now I need to know why. And so I started to do my connectivity. We can call it channeling, we can call it transmissions, however you want to call it. I started doing that. Now, one thing I like to mention is that one of my primary guides I came to discover a number of years ago is a character that we call Merlin. And there may be many Merlins out there. I don't know. The one that I talk to calls himself a man of the woods. He's a character. He speaks very emphatically. He's absolutely delightful. He doesn't suffer fools. And he's kind of like my grandfather figure. And he has been with me wherever I go. And he introduces me to the spirit beings, a lot of times the elementals of whatever land I'm in. And it's always good to have that connection when we're exploring, sacred sites and things like that. So anyway, Merlin came in, and I'm just going to give a read a little bit about what I was originally told, and I was told to call this freedom, that this whole trip was about freedom. And I thought, well, freedom is an interesting topic. It has multi layers, right? Wouldn't we say? And so I inquired a little more about that. Now, the other thing I want to say before I read a little bit of this is that Saint Germain, who was a real person, is considered to be sort of the patron saint in a way of Mount Shasta. And he is said to dwell there, protect the place. He's been seen there, walking every now and then. Somebody will be confronted with him. And when you're in the village of Mount Shasta, everywhere you look, there are these framed images of Saint Germain with these piercing eyes, and he's always surrounded with purple because he is known for having a purple light, purple essence. Anyway, we were told in those early, Merlin said in the early transmissions, that Mount Shasta, so it's a mountain like this, right? But it's actually a broadcaster, and we can think of it as being like that. So the mountain comes up, and then the mountain broadcasts out like that, almost like an exact mirror of itself. And that Saint Germain and others, and there's a lot of stories about an etheric world or town, a city called Telos, and the beings that dwell there. And so apparently Saint Germain and the people of Telos, which are highly elevated beings, broadcast all the time from Mount Shasta. Well, I didn't know any of this. I just heard from Merlin, it's a broadcast site. Later on, I discovered the rest of it. So I then had a visit from Yeshua, and he came in and said that he was very much in favor of this, and that we should definitely go, and that he would be with us, and that he would figure out a way to introduce us to Saint Germain. So finally, I did meet Saint Germain. He invited us in, and he said that many come attempting to make that connection, but not all do. And he said that we were invited, we were welcomed, and that the connection would happen some way or other. So later on, I want to just read a little bit of what Saint Germain said. Mount Shasta is a dwelling place of mine, not the only one, but one which I enjoy inhabiting. I am a sort of protector of the exquisite entries of that particular mountain, which is a recipient of an earth configuration beneath it that supplies very particular frequencies. Merlin is correct in that the mountain is a broadcaster and never ceases to broadcast. However, few hear the message. Some hear it until they wish they didn't because it is so loud and so constant. But the messages are, remember your divinity. Remember how your divinity is attracted to and connected to the land. And then he said, Shasta is the perfect embodiment of this. Your journey to Shasta will now be melded with me. I will provide the necessary openings and opportunities for you and your group to experience the magic. Many come, many attempt, many make a dent, but not all are blessed and accompanied by me. So this is just a way to say that he would be with us. And they spoke, all three of them spoke of a planetary matrix. So think of it like a film that has been sort of around us, dampening us. And I'm talking spiritually now, energetically, so that yes, we have the connection with the earth, but obviously we also have connection with whatever you want to call creator, source, universe, God, whatever you want to call it. and that this has been a film that has had many civilizations try to break through it, and we haven't quite accomplished it. Some have had minor successes, but he goes to say, this time, because of so many in the population, there is a chance, because of those numbers, that we can tilt this into a positive trajectory. The Earth has never been as inhabited as it is now, yet few see the benefit of the size of the population. Most see it as a detriment. From a spiritual standpoint, it is a boon. Many wanted to be here at this time so they could pull on the oars harder and harder in order to win this competition that is happening, because maybe some don't want us to have no film here. So he welcomed us. He said his purple flame would be in our hearts. And sure enough, they were. So I do think, Pam, that you and I are kind of in cahoots in a way that we didn't realize.
Yeah, this is like a magic carpet ride, isn't it? Like a
Yes,
magical mystery tour.
because my retreat was full.
Fabulous.
And then we did our interview, and then my retreat expanded. And I think that's exactly what had to happen. And not only did the numbers of the people in physical form grow, but the numbers around the planet who were joining us at that hour of noon Pacific on 888 grew as well. So when you take into account what Saint Germain just said about the numbers, the large size of the population, that's working in our favor. I just love that. That was such a tilt for me to think about it that way. Anyhow, let's skip forward. So we had our guidance to go. We knew that the topic was freedom. We knew we had to be on the mountain at noon on the 8th. And I had hired a wonderful guide who'd been there for 40 years guiding, and a very beautiful man, and named Andrew Oser. And he is a very humble, beautiful spirit. He's on the mountain almost daily. There is an effect of that mountain on the people in the town. I have to say, every single person I met was just solid and loving and open, and the kind of people, you want to be in community with. So Andrew brought us up to a place called the Temple of Love. Now, this was named by a lady who had had many transmissions decades ago. And these places that she identified on the mountain as very powerful, she kept a secret until she died. And she taught them to certain of her students, excuse me, who were sworn to secrecy. However, one happened to be a friend of Andrew's, and so he started to show Andrew where the spots are. So now Andrew takes people to these special spots. So the Temple of Love is a massive rock configuration, like a big rock wall. It's not a solid, it's like big boulders all stacked on top of one another. And from a certain angle, actually the angle where the transmission happened, it looks like a big heart. From standing right in front of it, you don't see the heart. But we trundled up. It was 5 of 12, and I was like, let's go. Got to get there on time. I got to the spot, and my feet just bolted into the ground. And this is where, I don't know if this happens to other people or not, but with me, for a very long time, I can't even remember how far back it goes, but when I start to tune in, my whole body first I start to rock, and then my arms go any which way, sometimes in, shapes, sometimes whatever, it just goes. And so I'm quite used to that. It's almost like and I could not physically do the things that happen when they take over my body. And this is a perfect example of that, because my arms started to rotate like this. But I know, right? But at a speed that I could not replicate right now. And so I'm up there looking like a helicopter, just whoa, 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 like this. And it went on and on in 10 minutes, something like that. I could not replicate that if I tried. And then at the end, my arms went up like this. And I I looked with my consciousness and I saw this shape hanging over the group. I saw the megaphone. And they had said, you're going to open a portal. And that was the portal. And it was just a milky white, but it was definitely there. So I was like, oh, okay, that's the portal we're supposed to do this into. And so then the words came. The people, the beings were all gathered. And just so you know what it feels like for me, it feels like the back of my head is kind of gone. And there's all these folks back here, and they sort of come, they just beam through my head, and oftentimes beam through my eyes. And that factors into this story. So they spoke and gathered people from all over, wherever people were tuning into us, using the wave to loop in with us. And so they gathered everybody together. And I just want to read the transmission because I think the words are important for all of us to hear. And they spoke very emphatically. In the spirit of love, we speak to freedom. We speak first of the freedom that is necessary for this beloved planet Earth. For too long, there have been those wishing to remove the divine connection that each and every soul has to the one creator, to the one. And this must end. And we proclaim it now. We proclaim it on this day, at this time, on August 8th, 2024, at noon, that freedom must reign. Therefore, we collect ourselves and pull all of our deepest intentions and desires into a magnificent sword. This is the sword of truth. Dear ones, it may be challenging to hear truth, for it may upset your fondly held beliefs. But we know that you are courageous souls who are willing to have your eyes see clearly. And we know that because we know you desire the highest good for all. In order to have the highest good for all, you must be able to see clearly. In order to see clearly, you must desire truth. In order to attain the truth, you must have freedom. Freedom to search the truth out, freedom to receive the truth, freedom to be the walking emblem of the truth. All of these freedoms have been denied steadily but surely over the eons, and on this day we say no more. Let us take this sword hovering above our heads, and let us place in the hilt one or more infinity waves, so that in piercing the film that covers the planet, it is done in love and compassion. It is not done with heavy energies, but with gratitude. It is done with joy, with a light heart. We are sending this sword up together, all of you and all of us. What a blessing to be working with you, to be playing with you in this way. And then on the count of 3, we sent it up to make way for truth and freedom for all.
Wow.
It took a lot longer than it did for me to read that to you, but it was quite something. And I basically was then told to tell everybody to keep their eyes open or to open their eyes. And I was directed to go to each and every person. I held their hands and opened my thing up. And then each person got a transmission through my eyes. Sorry, which I have done on an individual basis rarely, only when called to. But to do it, we had 30 people that day. And it was powerful. It was so powerful. My eyes get very dilated, like I'm high, but I'm not. Um, and I can feel their beingness coming through and hitting, and I could tell when each person got it. They'd kind of, do something like that. And then when that was over, I pretty much collapsed and had a good cry.
I bet you did. Gosh, the transformative magical power of that was astonishing. I mean, you must have felt that in every fiber of your being, didn't you? That the job
Yes,
was done,
yes,
that
yes.
you had exceeded expectations.
And and so they said afterwards. They told us that we had, we had exceeded expectations. Now I have to be clear, very, very clear here. This was a group effort. This was everybody who joined us, in whether energetically or in person. We don't do these kinds of, at least I don't do these kinds of things by myself. And I mean, I couldn't do it by myself. So that was the experience. And you helped me so much by giving me the astrology for that day and that time and that place. And it just seemed a perfect setup, right, for what we were doing.
It's really transformative, actually, for that specific time and that location. Yeah, so I knew it was going to be incredibly powerful, coming up from the land almost. Wow. And because you contacted me, I think at dawn the next morning with great excitement, just so thrilled. And, I was kind of doing a happy dance at this end as well. So, and then you received another message from your
I
guide
did.
as well about what had been accomplished.
So first, Merlin came in and said, "We are most gratified at your offering. We want you and your group to know that not only did the sword pierce the film, but the tear is continuing to open wide. What a magnificent outpouring from all hearts and souls around the planet. We could not be more pleased." And then Yeshua and Mary Magdalene came in and said exactly what you just said. "You have succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. The purity of expression was enough to tilt the scales, and now you will witness a great outpouring of truth and revelation." And this was interesting. They said, "In truth, the book of Revelations is all about this, truth being revealed." I never thought of it that way. "Your group has provided an opportunity for the world to restart on a high note rather than a low one. We love you and all who have performed this miracle." And this is interesting too. Sorry. "Yes, we were by your sides, but it is through the flesh that miracles actually occur. We can only support. You must be willing vessels. With great love, we send you off today." And then St. Germain came and said, "Greetings and much gratitude for your efforts. We experienced the great opening that was a result of our collective impulse to pierce the film. You and the group have made it possible for us in Telos to breathe again, for which we are eternally grateful." And said, "Please come back." But let me explain the breathing bit. He had said the ceiling was getting very low, making it difficult for them to breathe. And then he said, that may seem strange that as etheric beings, we can't breathe. He said it's more of an energy. The energy is getting dense, very dense. So the idea was to lighten that up, and we did. Now I want to just explain a little bit this sword. So this sword appeared, a very large sword, many feet high. And it had a sparkling silver blade, two-sided blade. And it had a very massive hilt, or I guess that's what you call the handle, the hilt. And it was hovering over the group, pointing upwards, like a rocket waiting to be launched. And when they said, we're going to put the infinity waves in the hilt, and we're going to send it up with love and compassion, I was like, that's so brilliant. That's so brilliant. And I didn't see it coming because of the emphatic way they were speaking. So it was really so it's interesting because love and compassion can be emphatic.
Yeah. And powerful, very powerful. Love is a fire. Love is a flame. Yeah.
Yes. So it was so beautiful. And my heart just exploded when I heard that coming out of my mouth, because I thought, well, that is just perfection. That's just perfection. Because none of us want to be caught up in the tangles of those lower vibrations, which are, tickling our feet every day, and sometimes grabbing onto our ankles, and we don't want to get enmeshed in that kind of thing. So the way this happened just made me so joyous, so joyous.
And what's fascinating, Hope, is in 2 days' time, I'm speaking again to Nancy Rebecca, who channels the blue light beings. And very recently, they have been saying something incredibly close to what you're saying, that it's all about truth from this point on. It's all about truth. So that's so interesting, I think, as kind of validation when somebody else from a different source is saying something pretty much identical. So,
I love it.
Fabulous.
I just love it. And I want to say, so I got home, about a week ago, and, it's just kind of coming back down into reality, so-called reality. And I happened to be scrolling on Facebook, just seeing what's happening with friends and things like that. And I saw this beautiful image. It's a black background, and it looks like smoke in this very intricate, delicate geometry. And I was like, what is that? And the caption at the top said, if you ever had any doubt that your words or your intentions have form, doubt no more, because there were several pictures, maybe 7. What they were photographs taken of a group who sat in a circle. They picked a particular word and they focused on that. Meanwhile, in the center of the circle, they had burned some incense. So the smoke from the incense was drifting up. And then at a particular moment, they spoke the word that they had been working on and, intentioning, and took the picture. And so what you see are these images of the words, and they're incredible. And did you see that?
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, quite like Vader's work in a way.
Yes. So I think it's called Illumina. I think it's Portuguese or Brazilian, something like that. Anyway, I was scrolling through the different images, and I was on my phone, so a little tiny picture like this, and I got to this one that was the sword. It was the sword. It's pointing downward, but I went, oh my goodness, And then I enlarged it to see what the name of this one was. Veritas.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Truth. Yeah. Oh, wow. You can't make it up, can you? I mean, it's like a cosmic joke.
It really, really is.
So already, Hope, are you feeling a different sense in the energy since you came back from that trip? I know it's still early days, but do you have a different sense now?
Um, well, I feel, and I think the people on the trip also came away feeling altered, permanently altered. What we all experience together just doesn't come along every day. And the way the group bonded after that, now keep in mind, I mean, normally when I run my trips, I'm a storyteller, so I like to start with the low things, and then we get to the middle, and then we get to the big crescendo at the end. Machu Picchu is at the end. But in this situation, the 8th was on Thursday, and our group gathered Wednesday night, so we were starting with the big kahuna at the beginning. And I thought, wow, I don't know, calling all adepts, we really need people who can handle this. So it was incredible because it set us up, and then the group was absolutely gelled from that moment on. So everything we did afterwards, at least from my observation, was so in sync, so in harmony, so in love. The willingness of this group to share, to open to one another was just gorgeous, just beautiful. So I think if I can speak for all of us, I would say that we have new chambers of our hearts opened. As far as everything else, I just keep focusing on that tear in the film. And so the more I focus on that, the more I feel the difference. And I think we need things like that. We need images and metaphors, and even the wave, ways to constantly bring ourselves back to those higher realities that are happening, even though we can't always see them on a daily basis. So when I tune into those things, I definitely feel something's different. That's
Fabulous.
just
And
me.
it's like the group that you were with could give us a glimpse of future humanity.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
in love and compassion. And, in fact, I even filmed a video called The Power of the Invisible, because we've always created from the invisible. We just haven't been very conscious or aware of it. But that's where the power is, particularly right now. And if we can live more consciously with more intention and focus and start to create these images and metaphors, as you say, Hope, of new earth, it magnetizes new earth to us. It gives
Yes,
it
it does.
energy, because we create with our imagination. We always have. And so this is absolutely thrilling, because it's like a game changer. It's a step change, isn't it, for humanity? I mean, you've been of massive service for humanity, from what seems to have been thousands of years where we haven't had that level of freedom. I mean, God bless you. God bless you, Hope, that you were available to be in service for these messages and to be willing to carry out this incredible meditation and ceremony to create what is available for all humanity now. I mean, it's just astonishing. It is so exciting. It really is a game changer, isn't it?
I hope so. It feels that way. I hope so. And I, I have to say that I was a tad nervous before it
No
all.
pressure. No pressure.
I was a tad nervous. Um, and then when it all happened, just the sense of, I mean, and I encourage all of us to do something where you can have that sense that you've contributed, you know. I mean, you certainly are doing that all the time, Pam. But we all have little ways that we can do it. You know, not everybody's going to trudge off to Mount Shasta and do that, and that's fine. That's what I've signed up for, apparently. But the feeling that maybe, you know, I've contributed something towards that new earth is so great. So as you say, if we can, you know, take a few minutes every day to take our silent time. I love scheduling silent time. It's such a great idea. And take those 5 minutes even to wave the new, wave the new earth to us. I like to think of the wave as pulling the horizon in. And, you know, it just, you send it out and it just reels it in. So whether you use that or not, you know, just keeping on a daily basis the drip, drip, drip of this positive intention, I think is a way of doing our part.
Well, 100%. And if we can all visualize that tear in the film that you created on, you know, the Temple of Love at the top of Mount Shasta, then we really are weaving a very beautiful future around that. And the faster the lower density reality will crumble, because the lower density reality is what none of us want. So the more we can just magnetize, imagine, envisage, embellish that tear in the film, the more those high frequencies, that expanded consciousness and that multidimensionality that's already coming to us will expand even more and arrive for more and more of us. So it's not difficult, is it? It's very simple to hold that image in our minds and create from that invisible that you have helped to create with your group. I mean, I am beyond excited. I'm just beyond excited.
Yeah, you know, yes, so beautifully stated, Pam. And I forgot to mention that in the first, I think one of the very first transmissions, they talked about our connectivity, increasing our connectivity with our galactic brothers and sisters.
Fabulous. Yeah, that's going to happen for sure. Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing it every day, every day.
It's going to get.
So I'm actually going to do a retreat in Sedona to try to make some contact and see what we can do.
Wow. Well, you know, already we know lots of people who are channeling galactic beings of all kinds, Palladians, Arcturians, Andromedans, blue light beings, etc. But if I look at the astrology, particularly as Uranus, which is the planet of the galactics, tips into Gemini, begins to tip into Gemini next year and fully in 2026, that is communication with the galactics. That's higher level communication with the galactics. And so that's going to be coming in more and more and more. So again, no pressure, Hope, but anything you can do to expedite that, you know, we're going to be on a roll, because that's our family. That's our
Yes.
family out there. And once those reconnections happen, I think we as humanity are going to be going in leaps and bounds. It's not linear, it's not gradual. We are going to be going in leaps and bounds in our understanding, our comprehension, the expansion of our consciousness. It's a whole, it will just leave all the wars and the poverty and the misery, but as kind of, it will just seem so distant, so distant.
Yes.
And the faster we can get everybody to that point, the better. Wow, so you're planning that already?
Well, I have a good friend who is very ensconced for decades in that world. His name is Alan Steinfeld, and he's actually written a wonderful book called Making Contact,
Yes.
which is where, do you know the book? But do you know who I'm
I
talking about?
know who you're talking about. I haven't ever met him, but I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, we just put our heads together and said, we've got to do something together, because he's all about expanding our consciousness. And that is what is necessary if we're going to be making a conversation of any kind. So we thought, let's do that. Let's get our heads together and get a group together and get our vibrations raised up. Let's use the wave to beam out there, and let's see what we can do. So yeah, we're going to do that next year.
Wow, that is so exciting. And, anything I can do to support with the astrology, because from memory, Uranus moves into Taurus in, I believe it's July. July, and spends quite some time into Gemini, rather into Gemini, and then backtracks a little and then fully into Gemini. I think it's spring 2026. Spring 2026 is a really big time with many astrological indicators of kind of a new humanity beginning
Oh,
around then, spring, Northern Hemisphere, spring 2026. So some real once in a lifetime, once in several lifetimes
oh,
astrological aspects. So yeah, wow. Wow. So no downtime, eh? You're straight into the next chapter. So wonderful.
yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm very excited about it because I've been following UFO stuff for very many years, and so to be able to actually, I haven't done anything on my own about it. So now we'll be stepping into that realm, and I'm super excited.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to speak for everybody, I think, who's going to be listening to this video, and even those who don't listen to it. Just you need to be recognized to your service for humanity, because I think it has truly been immense. Because as your guide said, no one has actually managed fully to do this. They've come close, but no one has actually managed to do it. So you and your group have achieved this, and the time was right for it too. So you're supported by the astrology, but it is thrilling to think that step change is now available to us. And I think if we focus on that and not the news, we are going to start to see manifestations of that increased level of freedom all around us.
Yeah.
So God
Oh,
bless
I
you.
just Yeah, God bless you, Pam, and thank you so much for being right by my side in my mind, at least. It really does take a village, and you're a big part of it. So I have great appreciation for you. Um, and you articulate these things so very well, and that's why so many people are fond of you. And I just found out my next door neighbor is also. So it's fun. Your reach is far and wide for good reason.
Yes, bless you. Gets a little scary sometimes, but
I, I'm sure it does.
but bless you. No, it's thrilling, and I'm sure we are going to speak again. Before your next episode, and see what's unfolding for you. It really is a magic carpet ride. So thank you, Hope. Thank you for your time. Thank you for
Oh,
sharing all of this, because it's so special to hear the guidance as well as the result. What happened afterwards and the messages you received, and just thank you for your time. I know you're now dashing off somewhere else, but thank you for your time from the bottom of my heart, and sending much love to you across the sea. God bless.
and same to you, Pam. Thank you very, very much. Much love. Bye bye.
Oh, thanks everybody.